They're right over there on the counter over there, and help yourself at any time for those. That was very kind and generous of them to offer that. So as I said tonight, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to allow the public an opportunity to express what qualities and characterizations they feel that the incoming superintendent should possess. There's just a few people here that has signed up to actually address the board, and we'll take those comments first. And I don't want anyone to be discouraged not to speak because you don't have a written comment. We still want to hear from you. We will allow each person 3 minutes to express themselves, and we just ask that all comments that are made this evening not mention anybody personally. I know that the group that we have to interview is professionals, and they're highly qualified, respected individuals. So if names are out there floating around, I would rather that they not be mentioned here tonight. Let's just focus on qualities and characterizations, and then we will be the judges of whether or not that individual possesses those qualities. Like I said, we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. And those of you that don't feel that you will need the mic, or free to stand and talk about the mic. And those of you that are a little softer spoken, if you would like to approach the mic to address the board, that would be just fine with us. Is there anything that we have overlooked? Dr. Paul, he's going to help us this evening with the flow of the meeting. So the first person we have signed up to speak is Hillary Miller.
For those of you who don't know me, Dr. Hillary Miller, my husband and I are physicians here in Glenville. I'd like to thank Dr. Paul for taking time to come up from Charleston to help us out in this very important search. The most important trait that we need in a new superintendent is leadership. We need a superintendent who can lead this Board of Education to making the right decisions to improve the school's facilities and education in this county. The education system in this county is the worst I've seen it in 30 years. Our grade school facilities are unacceptable, and our current allocation of resources is irresponsible. Fiscal responsibility is an extremely important trait for the new superintendent. We are on the verge of fiscal ruin. No longer is it acceptable to continue to postpone difficult decisions because they are difficult. As a taxpayer in Gilmer County, I'm tired of watching my tax dollars wasted by ineffective and inefficient leadership. We need a strong superintendent that isn't concerned with politics or popularity. We need a strong business leader who can balance a budget and appropriate funds responsibly. A superintendent who has worked in our county school system is also very important. We need someone who has a vested interest in the well-being of our children and put the needs of these children as their top priority. We need someone who wants to include and engage children, not exclude and separate. The public education system was invented to educate each and every child in the best way possible for that child and their family. Education is a constitutional right for all children and not something to be used for power struggles and petty politics within this county. We need a superintendent who is the loudest advocate for our children. Our superintendent needs to feel that parents are an important part of the educational process. Without engaging parents in their child's education, children can never hope to reach their full potential. We need a superintendent that brings parents back into the classrooms and utilizes them inside and outside the classroom to tap into the various resources that many of us would be happy to provide if given the opportunity. We need a superintendent who can come up with a viable plan for our school's facilities that will be approved not only by the SPA, but by the voters of Gilmer County. The conditions at most of the elementary schools in this county is deplorable. They're not acceptable for any child. We should be providing our children with the absolute best that is available. That's our job and our responsibility. Our children will have to leave this county someday and compete not only with kids from Braxton County or Ritchie County or Virginia, but kids from Japan and kids from China. And it's our job to make sure that they're ready to do that. This will be one of the most difficult jobs in the county during these times of turmoil. We cannot have someone who's going to shrink from this responsibility, because that's the path of least resistance. We've fallen down the slippery slope of least resistance, and I'm ashamed of where we've landed. Leaders don't have easy jobs. That's part of being a leader. And this is not going to be an easy job. It's time to put aside emotion and look at the facts. It's time to boost morale in this county from an all-time low. It's time to give the teachers in this county a leader that they can respect and follow to excellence, because excellence is what our children deserve. This is a wake-up call for the parents, the teachers, and the taxpayers of Gilmer County. This current state of affairs is not acceptable, and we will no longer accept it. It's time to fill this pivotal position with a strong leader, while we still have the ability to make our own decisions in this county before the state comes in and makes them for us.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Chris Ferris. Snyder, I'm sorry, Chris.
She's Chris Ferris.
She's Chris Ferris, yes. I didn't mean to do that.
Roll call, Superintendent and board members. Good evening. My name is Chris Ferris Snyder. I'm an instructor in the Environmental Technology Program at County of Gilmer Career Center. I've been an educator for over 13 years. During that time, I've worked with principals, directors at both local and state levels, assistant superintendents, superintendents, boards of education, and even an administrative council. The people in these supervisory positions often change due to the fact that the job is stressful, tiring, unforgiving, and thankless. This evening, I would like to take time to respond to the board's request for qualities for the next superintendent of Gilmer County Schools. As an employee, I've worked under different leadership styles. In the workplace, I appreciate a leader who greets me by name, offers me a handshake or sometimes a pat on the shoulder, and asks how things going. A genuine open line of communication is not only a morale booster, but also leads to productive conversations that in turn lead to relevant positive action. As a parent of students attending both Woodville and Normantown Elementaries, I want to explain this. It's not because they have different baby daddies. It's because of board policy and class sizes. I'm proud to say that all three of my kids have the same dad. They have the same last name. They have my last name. And I appreciate a superintendent that has an open door policy to discuss parental concerns about my daughter's education. What can I do to help you? Should be the start of an opening line of respectful communication between administrators and parents. Members of the board, I feel a key quality for our next superintendent is communication. Open, transparent, and positive communication through all means necessary. Whether it's letters home, or those robocalls, or emails, or open forums, and an up-to-date website. It is extremely easy and convenient for people to be negative, critical, and judgmental of one person in charge when times are tough and difficult decisions have to be made. The next superintendent will face these conditions. I spoke the majority of these words to the majority of this board, and it fell on deaf ears. and that was on February 9th, 2008, that I spoke these words, the majority of these words. I hope they do not tonight, and I urge you to act in the best interest of Gilmer County schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Snyder. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time? Dr. O'Call has agreed to take notes of your comments. If you haven't got something prepared beforehand, if there's anyone that wishes to speak, feel free to do so.